everybody, and welcome back to another brand new video where today we are still putting the final touches on Series 12, where today I'm going to be looking at your guys' responses to the series, my final video, at least for Series 12, of what did the fans think, where I'm looking at your comments about Series 12. So yes, if you haven't already, do check out all the previous videos I did from this series. So I did a video for each episode of Series 12, looking at all your comments and your responses to the episodes, just to gauge the general kind of fan consensus on each individual episode of Series 12. And I thought it was a good opportunity right at the end. When I did my Series 12 review, I asked for your comments on that, and I got a few comments, not as many as the other ones, but a few to pick from there to try and just create one of these videos and kind of let you guys know the general fan opinion, at least on my videos, on Series 12. Now, of course, there's lots else going in the world right now, and I hope you guys are all doing okay, whether you're trapped inside or not. I think that if and when, I'm obviously based in the UK, if and when potentially the UK becomes under lockdown, which doesn't look miles away, I may attempt to do some sort of daily videos type thing, just to keep me going as much as to keep you guys entertained. I don't know, maybe it won't happen, but I'm just kind of thinking possibly about doing something like that were we to end up in full-on lockdown, because I'll have nothing to do, nobody else will have anything to do, so why not make videos talking about Doctor Who? So there you go, that might be something to look out for in the future, but well, we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, you're here for Series 12 fan reaction is what you want to see today, guys, so let's get stuck in straight away with my first comment. Now this comment comes from a regular commenter, Davidblithe on my channel. Thank you very much for this. He says, overall it was a more fun and topical series than 11 was. Doctor Who can be many things. One thing it must never be is boring. This was no bore, other than some preachier things, which at least in Praxius' case you could very quickly gloss over. The execution of some things could have been a lot better. The finale again suffers from a lot of issues that have affected others in the past, and overall I didn't see anything that justified keeping the fam around for another series other than Graham. Jodie was fine. I still don't think she had a spellbinding performance that establishes her as a must-see Doctor. She feels like she's far too easily caught up in the madness and never seems in control too much. I must have been spoiled on the 7th Doctor a lot. Darn you, Series 26 Blu-ray. So there we go, that's a quote from Davidblithe, who enjoyed it, but also didn't think it was one of the greatest series ever, which is totally understandable. Certainly stuff around the fam, I'm still not convinced by the fam in general, and don't see any real need for them to stay on for Series 13. They just don't really do anything. I do personally think that Jodie's Doctor was quite a significant improvement over the previous series. Maybe she's still not one of my favourites, and probably still not one of the best Doctors ever, but I do feel like her character definitely took a step up in Series 12. But thank you very much, David, for your comment. Now, next up, we've got an interesting comment from Lungbarrow Productions, who says, I'd say this was actually an overrated series. Where I absolutely loved Series 11, this series felt like a convoluted mess that did more harm to the canon than good. I also think that adding multiple incarnations for Hartnell was rubbish, and they should have only focused on the Ruth Doctor and have her be the only pre-Hartnell Doctor, because by saying all these other people you see for just a second of the Doctor, and you have to accept that, left me with a bitter taste in my mouth. Praxius is by far in my top 10 worst episodes of Modern Who. Also, the companions bar Yaz were all useless. I also didn't care for Spyfall Part 2 and Fugitive, and despite the series making Jodie my favourite new series Doctor and giving us the best master since Ainley, I still didn't like it. So yes, somebody there, probably I would say a fairly less common opinion from somebody who preferred Series 11 to Series 12. I think in general most people have thought that Series 12 has been an improvement on 11, but it's certainly very interesting to hear that point that you just didn't enjoy it so much, particularly the stuff around the kind of arc of the series, the finale. I think a lot of people will remember this series for the finale and the Ruth Doctor and the general arc of the series, rather than maybe individual episodes being good or bad, because just simply the finale had such a big impact on the whole canonicity of the show, which is a pretty major thing, and totally understandable why therefore you maybe didn't enjoy it so much. But as always, thank you very much for your comment. Now we've got Max Davis with basically the opposite opinion, saying, I feel like Season 12 was a huge improvement to Season 11. I love the cliffhangers and the fact there was a series arc, but I don't like the Doctor as the timeless child and is now pretty much the most important person in the universe. I feel like the Doctor should never be that. I would have rather the Ruth Doctor have a larger role in the finale, as she feels like she has the potential to be a really good Doctor. I would also have the Ruth Doctor be a Season 2B incarnation instead of pre-Hartnell, because that would explain why she had a police box TARDIS, and I think would be better narratively. I would also rather the Master find out that he was the timeless child, as you could get an interesting narrative when he discovers that he is really important to the universe and the Gallifreyans experimented on him. It could also add a new sense of madness to the Master. I do think that the Doctor being the timeless child could work as long as they explore it heavily in the next few seasons instead of everything continuing as normal. So again, there we go, somebody who's very much commenting on the timeless child and really how the timeless child and the timeless children in the finale kind of affects everybody's opinion on everything to do with Series 12, because it is such a big thing, a big factor, and changes everything. I don't, so as you guys know from my channel, I did not hate The Timeless Children. I don't think it's the greatest episode ever. There are problems, but I also don't think it's awful, and I don't hate the idea of the Doctor being the Timeless Child. In many ways, I agree. I would have preferred if the Master had been the Timeless Child. I just feel like there would have been a lot more interesting things to explore there, but it's not going to destroy the show for me because the Doctor is the timeless child. Now, our next comment comes from Purple Celery, who says Series 12 was a definite improvement on Series 11, but still had room for improvement. The good, two-parters and an arc, the return of some familiar Doctor Who elements such as the Master, the Cybermen and Captain Jack. A darker, more vulnerable Doctor. The bad, companions still have felt a bit sidelined, especially Ryan and Graham, still not feeling a real connection between the companions and the Doctor. The Doctor relying too much on others, e.g. Ko-Sharmus, to save the day rather than being the one to do so herself. I'd say that's a very good overview of where things did and didn't work for Series 12, really, that it was great to have some two-parters back in there, and now its overall series arc was really, really good. The past Doctor Who elements also, I think, added to it, and it just made the show feel more connected to its past by having Cybermen in it, having the Master back into the show, and Captain Jack at one point as well. But it also felt there was a few problems there. The fan were still a bit of a waste of time, as I've said before. I do tend to agree as well with this weird thing with the Doctor kind of just running away from situations, letting other people sacrifice themselves, like we saw with Ko-Sharmus, just kind of didn't feel like the right thing for the Doctor to do personally. Or if it was going to happen, it should have been somebody like Yaz, because it would have been more meaningful for all the main characters than just having some kind of random dude who's thrown into that episode, basically saving the day. So yeah, those certainly are some very valid criticisms of the series. Now next we have a comment here from Cattails, who says, I just don't see the issue with Series 11 that people still insist on talking about. All the character moments of Jodie's 13 are there. They're subtle, but they're there. Go back and watch it again with fresh eyes. I'm in the process of that and it's all there. I agree it lacks story arc, so it can never achieve the levels of awe as Series 12 did, but I really love the individual stories. I'm even one of those people that really kind of like the pating. I enjoyed it all and just had fun with this happy new Doctor and her fam. Though any more than one series of that style would become a bit boring, so that was super excited when I could see Series 12 was going to blow my mind, and it totally did, all of it. I personally think its weakest episode was Can You Hear Me, although I loved the character backstory of Yaz. It just didn't grab me. Orm 55 had major issues, mostly to do with too many characters and plot. It's a muddle, but I enjoyed the experience of watching it more than I did Can You Hear Me. My highlights are of course the main episodes, but the filler episodes were fun too. I love Praxeus. I love that we had a break after that massive Jadoon episode because I felt like I had a week long hangover and needed a breather. My most favourite episode is Villa Diodati. I've rewatched that so many times and it just gets better and better. Jodie has become my new favourite Doctor this series. Last series I was still mourning Peter and Moffat. Perhaps we all were. So there's some interesting perspective on both Series 11 and Series 12, and as I say, Series 12 is definitely a significant improvement on Series 11. I do tend to an extent agree that there is some good stuff in Series 11. There is some character moments in there, but I think as a whole series it just feels a little bit disconnected from itself and from other series, and that's just where Series 12 really rectified that to a large extent, I think. Now, somebody who rather less enjoyed the series is Joseph Eliot, who says, if destroying a show's entire history is improvement, sure. Honestly, this is the worst ever series and means that for the show to win back a lot of fans, Whittaker's entire era needs retconning back out. Too many of the stories with a half-decent plotline linked heavily to the episode that destroyed the entire history and legacy of the show, and the rest are just awful. To me, the show ended at Capaldi and he regenerated into an unknown or chose to die. Whittaker's era is unsalvageable now, rather she be disgraced than Hartnell. So yeah, that's a controversial but also not necessarily uncommon opinion, hence why I felt it was important to include it in the video. I do not agree with that at all, I must confess, but it's perfectly good, valid and acceptable to have those kind of opinions on it, and I can totally see where you're coming from with that. It's just not an opinion that I personally share. Now, our final comment on the What Do the Fan Thinks videos for Series 12 comes from Fleecen771, who says, 100% a huge improvement. Jodie and 13 need layers to allow her to become her own Doctor, and the instruction of Gallifrey allowed for that. Still proved 3 companions is too much, and Chibnall continually splitting them up proved a fix, but that is beyond most writers' capabilities. Dewan as the Master was a masterstroke. He overshadowed Jodie most of the time, but also brought the best out of her. All I wanted mainly was an element of threat, and Series 12 gave it to me. 100% agree, resolution after the Die Series 11 finale was a big turning point. Been fun, Eliot, thanks for the content, roll on Series 13. Well, thank you very much for your comment, as always, of course, and yeah, I tend to agree that it was very much an improvement on Series 11. Resolution was that first turning point. Resolution feels, although it's part of Series 11 in terms of episode quality, feels more part of Series 12, I think, and just meant that overall Series 12 was, for most people, I think, a positive experience. Of course, there's always going to be people who don't like the series, and that's totally fine, that's totally acceptable. For me personally, I did enjoy Series 12. It's never going to be my favourite series of all time. Like, there's definitely a good 3, 4, 5 series of New Who I put above it, but it definitely was a great step up on Series 11, and yeah, it just got me more excited and more positive about the show again, I think. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Do let me know your thoughts on Series 12 or on this video down in the comments below, and if you'd like me to continue this in the future, whether it be looking at maybe past episodes, if I get you guys to maybe comment on some episodes from the past that I may be reviewing or something like that, would you like to do that? If so, do let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, as always, remember to hit that like button, that subscribe button, and I'll see you again very soon for a brand new one. Goodbye.